Welcome back to another episode of Chef Knives to Go Quick Look Product Reviews. I'm Steve Gamache, and what we're looking at today, and you're going to get a lot of reflections. These are fairly highly polished, but I'll try to keep it down to a minimum irritation level. This is the Nishida Shidogami, or white paper number 1, polished Bocho 110 millimeter knife. And the core steel, as mentioned, is Shidogami, or white paper number 1 reactive high carbon steel from Hitachi. Heat treats in the 6061 Rockwell range on that. These are done by hand, so that'll vary just a little bit, but that's what they're shooting for. Construction is a soft iron cladding on either side of that core steel for a 3-layer sandwich. And they've done a pretty high polish on these. They're basically, I think, the same type of knives they do with the Kudauchi finish, except they polished them. And they've done a pretty high polish level on these. So, again, it's going to have a lot of reflective characteristics with my lights, but we'll do our best. The weight is pretty light. It is 78 grams, or 2.8 ounces. And these dimensions and weights will vary just a little bit from knife to knife because they're handmade, hand-hammered. The edge length is about 111 millimeters, or 4.4 inches roughly. And the overall length is about a little under 9.5 inches. The spine thickness on this one's about 2.6 millimeters coming out of the handle above the back of the blade, and thins down just a touch off of that, and then about the last maybe 3/4 of an inch, it thins down with the grind to a pretty thin tip. The tip's actually quite thin. The blade height, these are pretty generous in height. This is 39.5 millimeters from spine to edge. And let's get a close-up look. The handle is, I didn't measure the size on this one, but it's appropriately small, I'll just put it that way. These are oval, ambidextrous, rosewood with black packawood ferrules. And so they've got a real nice smooth fit and finish on the handle. They're well installed. And there's the blade shape, so nice and tall. You've got some kanji on here. I think it's chiseled, although it could be done with the machine, but by hand. But it's definitely got some texture to it. Looks like it could be chiseled. It's just a little different than some of the chiseled kanji I've seen. But you can feel it when you move your hand across it. And nice polished to it. This is an all-reactive knife, so there's no stainless on here. And these can be pretty reactive, especially the cladding. You can see the cladding giving way to the core steel at the edge. They've got a real nice grind on these. They're quite thin at the edge. Performance is quite good on these, and the tips are ground thin. They're fairly stiff blades, but the performance kind of belies that kind of medium weight feel to them. So this particular one, the fit and finish is real good on these with the spine and the choil. Out of the box edge, maybe about a 5 out of 10. They had decent out of the box edges, but this is Shidogami number 1. This stuff will get just stupid sharp. So I encourage you to sharpen these because they're just, Shidogami number 1 is just a very pure steel, and it's awesome to sharpen. So it'll get really, really sharp. So here's your profile. This definitely is tall enough for board work, for sure. In-hand work, no. This is not a paring knife, folks. So, interesting little knife, though. You can do a lot of different kind of stuff with this. But there's your profile. This is a gentle curve. Can you rock a little bit, but probably not what you're going to do with this. So, interesting little knife. I found the finish actually pretty durable on these. Even though it's polished, it's a pretty durable finish. So that's kind of a nice feature because polished finishes can show stuff real quickly. So here you have a cool little knife. This is the Nishida Shidogami number 1 polished version called Bocho 110 millimeter knife.